channel. This is Dragon Videos, and yet again we are going to go over another Hazbin Hotel review, episode 5, Dad Beat Dad. And again, beware of some spoilers. So our story begins with a massive time skip, which is probably where the season could have gone a bit better at that point. But putting that aside, Vaggie wakes up to see that Charlie isn't in their bed, so she goes to investigate. Lo and behold, Charlie is trying to figure out why things are not working in the way that she hoped, and to say that she's panicking would be the understatement of the century. Charlie looks like she's ready to lose her marbles here and take down anyone who comes within 5 feet, let alone an inch, from where she is now. Of course, everyone else is starting to get very concerned of her well-being, and it doesn't exactly help the extermination is getting closer to its due date. Vaggie suggests that it was time to call her dad, Charlie's dad, who is King Lucifer himself. Though Charlie wasn't exactly very happy about it, because it is soon revealed that he, being Lucifer, was the one who okayed the extermination in the first place. However, this gives Charlie an idea that the best way they could handle this is by going straight to the top, or basically find someone who is higher than Adam and try to make her case there, which I'd say is a very reasonable idea at this point, and worth a shot. However, she definitely had to talk to her dad, and of course, Huss pokes at the fact that she could have daddy issues. No surprises there, considering this is the Helliverse, where daddy issues come in aplenty. Putting that aside, again, Charlie does finally call, and we soon learn that Lucifer hasn't exactly been himself. He lives in his own depression, surrounded by duckies, and has nothing else to do, despite of how he said to Charlie that he was busy with things and never even paid attention to the news. So, of course, Charlie asks if it was possible for him to contact Heaven, and this was the response.
Oh, no. No. No, Charlie, no. That's, no.
Charlie tries to reason with him and even asks for him to come and have a look at the hotel. Excited, Lucifer heads over, and everyone scrambles to get the place ready. Alastor comes over and notices all the excitement and soon sees Lucifer coming in. And then, of course, gets insanely jealous for some unknown reason, possibly because of what happens next. So, as the two are introduced, Charlie also finds herself monkey in the middle of the latest heated battle between Alastor and his brand new rival, Lucifer. And of course, I still find it crazy of how Alastor could just swear right out of the blue. This ultimately creates Dad Beat to Dad, the duel song between the two, and then it comes into a very silly but somewhat crazy rap battle compared to that of Stayed Gone. This is soon interrupted by none other than a new character, Mimsy, who seems to have a bit of her own agenda. As the tour soon begins with Charlie, Husk slinks away after serving Mimsy a drink to have a private talk with Alastor. Apparently, Husk knows this gal way too well, along with Alastor's friendship with Mimsy. Apparently, he suspects that this time Mimsy must have ticked off someone again and needed Alastor's help to clean up her mess. Again! My lord, how many times does this girl have to get herself in danger at this point? As a result, Alastor just chills it off and sways it as nothing more than a mere problem he couldn't handle. However, Alastor gets a huge smackdown from Husk, verbally speaking, at the fact that he too is on a leash. Ticked off, Alastor reminds Husks of his positions before he resumes the tour with the gang. And in turn, Charlie finishes up the tour with Vaggie and Lucifer, and the three decide to hang out on the balcony for a bit. Lucifer, while he admires Charlie's attempt at trying to redeem sinners, wasn't exactly very impressed, which is a little understandable if you think about how he gave man free will and it blew up in his face. And of course, he wasn't even 100% sure that humans can change, even after death. And soon it was proven further by the appearance of the loan sharks. To this day, I call that moment the loan shark fiasco. And it is soon revealed that Mimsy got herself into a mess. Well, no surprises there, ladies and gentlemen. Husk has once again proved himself right. So, as a result, the group decides to take cover, avoid the firing, while at the same time Alastor steps in to take care of a problem, as predicted by Husk. Meanwhile, while Alastor's taking that on, Lucifer goes on saying of how humans or human souls are basically psychopaths that don't deserve redemption and that they'll never change no matter how hard Charlie makes the effort for it. Charlie finally got fed up with her father's pessimistic attitude and calls him out for his negligence, which catches Angel Dust and Husk's attention. While that was going on, Alastor decides to get firm with Mimsy and told her to leave. Of course, Mimsy leaves in a huff, which makes Husk feel like he got 1 point out of a deal. However, meanwhile, while that was going on, Lucifer finally breaks down and explains that he doesn't want to lose his daughter once again to something so dangerous as that of the angels. He is familiar with their rules and regulations, and that they're very small-minded people up in there. And this results in the song more than anything, a duet between Charlie and Lucifer, both of them explaining what they want out of the situation and trying to see the best in what is to come. Finally convinced that Charlie will handle things, Lucifer decides to take the case up to heaven and warns her that once she's up there, she's gonna be by herself. So, he left with saying a sweet farewell. And of course, Charlie gets herself ready to go to heaven with Vaggie coming along. However, Vaggie doesn't share the same excited sentiment, leaving a little bit of mystery for the fans. My only one negative with this episode would be just the pacing of it. It not just because of the tone that is set up now, it's just that it just got a major time skip. And I felt like there could have been just more time seeing Charlie trying to make the hotel work, as well as just showing how much the characters have evolved, especially with Serpentius, because he probably got the shortest amount of screen time out of the other boys. Putting that aside, I also felt like it was a nice change of pace for what they did with Lucifer. I'm not too familiar with all of the media forms of Lucifer, but I do like this one because it's a little goofy and unexpected, and in some ways he still was a bit neglectful to Charlie, but he could have been worse compared to Crimson and Paimon. Of course, with Jeremy Jordan as his voice actor, it really is nicely set up, and it does give a sense where you're sympathetic to Lucifer to a certain degree. His wife up and disappeared out of nowhere, There has yet to be an explanation as to why he and Lilith split up, and it caused a strain with his relationship with Charlie. And he probably loved his wife so much that he felt like he had to shut himself away from the world as a result of that. And it's a pretty awful feeling. I mean, think about what the guy has to go through. The thousands of years of guilt, thinking that that he did cause the destruction of mankind's goodness, resulting in a very harsh judgment system in turn. And of course, Alastor's mysterious caper, though if some of you have seen the leaks, please don't spoil it for the rest of us. It definitely feels like it raises some questions about Alastor's and his intentions. And plus, it feels, again, like a good air of mystery to go on in terms of writing. And I also like of how Husk has another shot in the episode compared to how he was in the earlier 3 episodes, where he shows he's a bit more growth in terms of being more involved with everyone's problems compared to how he would always drink himself silly and stay away from everyone else. And of course, we're just reminded of how terrifying Alastor can be when he's ticked off. And the introduction of Mimsy does add a little light to some of his character and making us want more of it in season 2. As for Charlie's relationship with Lucifer, it was definitely very sweet, and I do like of how they're remaining the same characters as they were throughout the majority of the series. It does show a very exciting premise for the next episode and what is to come, especially with Vaggy's weird reactions whenever heaven is mentioned in the conversation. The MVPs for this would probably go to Charlie, Lucifer, and Alastor. Those three always bring off some nice comedic energy when it needs to be, even if it was mostly about these two ready to duke it out. As a result, for Charlie's sake, I like of how there's still some consistency in her character, showing that she's serious about what she wants to do. And even though she's struggling with expressing that right now, she was still able to convince her dad that there could be still some good in the world despite everything that's happening. And with Lucifer's character, he definitely comes across as someone who's just mentally and emotionally tired. He's been dealt with misfortune upon misfortune and doesn't know how to cope with it anymore and be the ruler that hell needs. As a result, he shuts himself away, making rubber duckies. So it definitely makes you feel a little sympathetic to him, especially if his intentions for giving man free will was a decent one at best. And then, of course, with Alastor, the air of mystery that clouds around him and Mimsy's appearance does add a few additional sides to his character, and if there can be some possible redemption in the making, to say the least. I like to think Hell's Greatest Dad is practically the funnier version of Stayed Gone. While these two don't necessarily have a rap battle, you can definitely tell these two want to one up each other whenever possible just to win Charlie's affection. And man, does it get ugly with each minute. I don't mean in terms of visuals, they were nice, but the tension has gotten so high, I swear it was almost like they were ready to duke out right there in the room without Charlie knowing what to do. If not for Nifty, I think things could have escalated in a different direction. Speaking of which, she definitely came across as coming up with as nostalgic as Chick had once said, big lipped alligator moment. The iconic, something that came out of nowhere musical piece that could sometimes hold no relevance to the plot. However, a Mimsy kind of did in this song, but still it was something I want to point out right then and there. Anything is just such a sweet and wholesome song that highlights both Charlie and Lucifer's character. They're kind of on the opposite of the same coins if you think about it. They both want to do what's best for everyone. In Lucifer's case, he wants to protect Charlie from Angel's wrath as well as whatever heaven may dish out to her because he's been there himself. He knows the rules and regulations of heaven. He knows how difficult it is dealing with them as a whole. So he just wants Charlie to feel safe from his mistakes. After all, as I said before, this poor man has been through the ringer in terms of guilt and misfortune throughout the very beginning of the series. Doesn't fully justify his neglect, but it does give you an idea of where he's coming from. As for Charlie's side of things, she wants to see the best in people and she cares deeply about them as much as she cares for her father. These two slowly begin to create an understanding, and it becomes more uplifting as they begin to understand one another more clearly. And it gives off a hopeful concept that maybe these two will have a better luck in their relationship in season 2 than what we've seen so far in season 1. Those are my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of Dad Beat Dad? Is there anything that you would want me to cover, or is there anything else that you want to point out? Please let me know in the comments below. Do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Bios signing off.